Okay, so hi Mitch, how are you?
Hey, good. How are you doing?
It's been a while since we spoke last time,
Yeah,
and a
it's
lot of
nice to
stuff, a
talk
lot of
to you.
stuff happened, both in family stuff, professional stuff, and actually, I wanted to talk to you and ask you some questions because you made a very, let's call it, unusual career jump from being a content creator, if I remember correctly, full-time content creator, right, to being
Mhm.
a full-time employee. You basically found a full-time job, and that's something that not many content creators do, because the usual path, the standard path, is being a full-time employee, get professional, get bored maybe a little bit, and then start producing content. So you just kind of reversed the script.
Yeah, it is definitely interesting. I was talking to Steve Quinn about this. I don't know if you know his YouTube channel, A Life Engineered. He's like he's been an Amazon engineer for like 20 years, and that's essentially what he's trying to do. Like he's created this YouTube channel. He's got like 100,000 subscribers now or something, and that's basically what he's trying to do. He's like trying to get out of the job and go to the content creator sort of thing. And he asked the same question to me. He's like, so like, why you hold on? You were making more money at your business than you do at your job, but you stopped doing that to go get a job. What is happening here?
So maybe just as a preliminary story, you could tell us just what happened with you since you entered the technology sphere and how you built your online presence, and up to the point that you do decide to go. And I don't know, we'll discuss that, but when you do take the decision to become a full-time employee. So just a short summary of your path.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. So let's go way back, I guess. Sure. I went to school for physics. I have a physics bachelor of science in physics and a also an engineering diploma. So it's like a 2-year engineering diploma in mechatronics, which is like robotics. I did very little coding. Basically, is what I'm trying to say. I took 2 Java classes out of my entire 5 years there, and I took I think it was a Python class, I think, where we did some modeling. Nothing crazy. And basically in the last, I guess, semester, really, almost the last semester of school after 5 years, I was like, what the hell am I going to do with this physics degree? Like, what do people do with these degrees?
Yeah, it's a good
And so
time
I
to think
started,
about this stuff.
yeah, okay, I'm graduating in like 4 months. How do I get a job? And so, yeah, I started asking around. It seemed pretty common that people would go into software from physics. Math and physics is like very well suited for software, I think, because generally it's problem solving and just like you have some problem, it's very difficult, and you got to break it down into pieces and solve it. That's like, I think math and physics students are very well suited for software. And so, yeah, I started asking around. I ended up getting a job, or I started learning Android in that last semester, and I also started the YouTube channel. So I would just like learn things and publish them online. And then I got a job in IT when I graduated. But while I was working full time, I continued with the Android learning. And then after less than a year at my IT job, I started making money from my business because I ended up making a website. And I thought, oh, let's like make a course and see if it sells. I had it up for $5. It was pretty much just like, will people pay money to watch this? That it was just like a test.
Mhm.
And went pretty well. Like I sold a lot of courses. And it obviously didn't make any money because they were $5 each. But the purpose of that test was, will people pay for this? And the answer was yes. So I thought, okay, well, if I quit my job, like I've progressed this far while working full time, so I can only spend a few hours on it a day. How much could I get if I quit my job? And I asked my girlfriend, or my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time. I said, hey, if I quit my job, will you pay our bills so I can like try and do this? And she said, yeah, which is great.
Yeah,
She enabled
that's
me.
an amazing level of support and trust.
Yeah, and you like she believed that I could do it too.
Yeah.
Where it seemed like everybody else was like, "What the fuck are you doing? Like what?"
So basically, at that
You're not
point,
making.
you had no other choice than to marry her because you would never find anyone else that crazy and that confident in your ability to pull it off.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. I'll get her to listen to this and see what she says about that. And yeah, so I quit. And then after about, I think it was actually less than a year of doing it full time, I got a job at Pluralsight, which is an online learning website, and I was making courses for them. And then at that point, I was making more than I was in my IT job. So at that point, I had made it basically because I had surpassed the income that I was making at a job, and I was doing fine. So that's good. And then it just kind of built from there. I stopped making courses for Pluralsight because they wouldn't pay me enough. And so I said, okay, fine, I'll build my own website, build my own website. And then I published courses to there. I published to YouTube and did that for 5 years or so. And it's been very good. Like I said, I was making more at my, online course selling business than I do at my job at Square currently. So it was like I wasn't making a lot more, but it was a little bit more. I wasn't like rich or anything, but I was making enough to own a home and, do standard
And
living
have
things.
your time, full time at your disposal.
Yeah. But it's not as great as it sounds. Like you work a lot. I worked much, much more than I do at Square now. Like at Square, I work 8 hours. That's it. I work 7 to 3 every day. And it's like clockwork. I'm out of there. And before with my job, it was like or with the business, which I still do the business stuff, but it's much, much less. Yeah, it's just like an all the time, everyday thing. Like it's always in your mind, like, oh, I could be doing something right now. Oh, my website needs some updates. Oh, I should start working on the next course. Oh, I need to make a video for YouTube. I need to answer these questions. There's like always things. So yeah, that's, I guess, generally the background story.
In the head, there's a very interesting tangent here to go on, and that's about, in general, being a startup founder, because that's actually what you did, right? You basically founded your startup.
Yeah, I don't like saying that because that's like a buzzword that I think people use to like bait people. Like the guy I think that comes to mind is that Siraj guy. That guy that YouTube guy, Siraj, the AI guy.
Okay.
He's like, he like, there was this big thing about him a couple years ago where he like plagiarized all of these projects and then was like saying that he wrote them and he sells courses and stuff. And every course he tries to make, he's like, build your own startup, build your own AI startup. So I have this like bad taste in my mouth. I'm like, no, I don't want to say that and sound like him or something.
Okay. We will call you entrepreneur then. What?
There you go.
Okay,
that's
great.
good.
So you went for your entrepreneurship, and a very interesting tangent here is really the support that you get and that you don't get from people around you. So that's something I'm putting a bookmark in my head. Maybe we'll do a part 2 sometime.
Sure. I'll do a podcast anytime. I enjoy doing this. It's like easy content.
Yeah.
You're just chatting.
Exactly. So you basically make more money than you did in your full-time job. And you are very popular YouTube producer YouTube channel. I'm looking at it right now. It's at approximately 140,000 subscribers, which is really a lot.
Sounds right.
And you have your own website, Coding with Mitch, where you sell your own courses. And there are quite a bit of them, quite many of them right now. So at that point, when you are successful, and I guess you had many options and many pathways that you could take from there, starting from just scaling your online courses business and going to adjacent niches maybe, or going completely different pathway, but as a content creator, you decide that it's time to find full-time job, to get a full-time job. And I didn't know that you took a salary hit at that point. So could you please just I guess you're still getting some income from your online courses, so it's kind of compounded, but still. So could you just maybe explain what the hell was you thinking at that point?
Yeah. So at the beginning, you don't take a salary hit though. Like my salary essentially doubled when I got hired, right? Because the courses it's a subscription, so they continue to sell. But then it dwindles, right? Because I'm not making YouTube videos to promote it. I'm not making as much new stuff. So like the income dwindles. Yeah. So it's not a salary hit at first, but then it does start to dwindle. Yeah, why did I get a job? There's a lot of reasons. I wrote them down actually because I knew you're going to ask me this, and I didn't want to forget anything. So like there was a lot of reasons. I have 5 reasons here. For the first one was I thought of like, what would life be like in 10 years from now if I was to have the best business / life / whatever in 10 years? What would be the set of things that I should do to get that? And scaling my business is one possible route, but there's a lot of unknowns. It's like and also the pace that I improve is much slower because I'm alone. I can only learn, like when you're in a company, it's kind of like you're part of a hive mind. You learn through other people's mistakes and you learn through other people's success. So it's kind of, you get all of this information from everybody else coming in. Like as you're an independent person, you can only read so much and do so much. You can only make so many mistakes and make so many good choices. So you can only learn so quickly.
Yeah, and there is the dimension of time that you learn about your own mistakes and your own good choices somewhere down the road. And when you work with others, you can today see the consequences of the choices and decisions that were made like year or 2 years or several years ago.
Yeah, exactly. Like something that may have taken you a year to find out, oh, we shouldn't build apps in this way because it gets fucked. Like it could simply be you having a chat with one of your coworkers and you're like, oh, hey, why don't we do this? And they're like, no, don't do that because we tried that and this is what happens. And like, boom, you just got a year's worth of knowledge compressed into 5 seconds, you know? And so there's all of these things that you can learn at a job. And so I that was kind of the biggest one was what will put me in the best place in like 10 years in terms of experience and knowledge. And so I thought getting a job would do that. The second one was when I'm working alone, I can only build things that are so big. I'm really limited by the amount of attention that people have, like in terms of making a course. Like I would love to make like these massive apps that are like real. Like you have a website, you have a backend, you have a server, you have an iOS app, you have an Android app. Make them both, make it all. But the course would be like 50 hours long or 100 hours long or something. And nobody, like very few people will watch that just because they don't have the attention to. So like there's a disconnect between like financial incentive and like what will make you better. So yeah, I thought, okay, if I get a job, I can experience these like large scale problems and solve these large scale problems. Basically, it's like learning about large scale problems. When I'm working alone, there's not really opportunity to do that, or there's less opportunity. Third one was I have basically no experience working on a team, obviously, since I work alone. And there's a lot of things like I actually had a really rough time when I started not for the technical stuff. Like I was totally fine with all of the technical work. It was like the other things like working with Jira, working with like reviewing people's PRs, effectively communicating on Slack, like those things I struggled with because I have zero experience. So it's like throw somebody who's like quite technically good and like that's what I want to do, obviously, because that's what I was good at. And then, oh no, you have to like learn how to write these designs and learn how to work Jira and learn how to like communicate with product people and tell them, and, it's like all these things. And so I thought it would be good to actually learn those things, obviously.
Yeah, definitely. You just kind of discovered, you probably knew that, but you didn't have a chance to see it because you worked alone and created courses. You discovered that the job of a software developer usually involves much more than just coding and building stuff.
Yeah,
And the
it's
higher you
like
go in ranks, the lower percentage of your time is spent actually coding and creating software, and the larger percentage is spent communicating.
yeah, like probably my time right now is like 60 to 70% writing code, and the rest is like other things. But as you go, every time you level up, your code amount will decrease and your other things amount will increase. Next point
That's
is
fourth or third?
that was the third one. Next point is I got bored. Truthfully, making courses is a pain in the ass, as you know. It is absolutely exhausting. After you finish a course, you want to just lay down and die. It's like it's one of the like
For
harder
me, it
things
actually
I think
happens
you could
5
do.
minutes after I start recording the course. So you want to
Oh,
lay
really?
down and die for the entire duration of the for the entire process of recording, basically.
Yeah, building it's fun mostly.
Oh.
Usually I'm having a good time like building, like writing the code for it, basically. Usually I'm having a good time up until like I have to start adding tests and like, tightening it up. You're like, okay, now let's go in and now I have to, usually I write tests as I go, but then at the end I do like an overview and I'm like, okay, what sort of testing have I missed? Is it worth adding those? That kind of stuff, handling errors, like, you're just like reviewing your code basically.
Yeah.
Then it starts to get less fun.
I think your position is much better. Your starting point is much better than mine, because I really start being depressed and like it's depression and aggression at the same time. And my wife tells me like, you changed completely. What happened? Like, are you okay? Okay. I'm just recording the course. Like, what do you want me to do now?
Leave me alone.
Yeah, kind of, because like it gets. I mean, she asks whether everything okay because she sees that something changed, but then it's just me recording courses. That's what I become when I record courses. Mm-hmm. So if you enjoy the process, it's great. It's actually amazing. But I do get your point about being bored recording courses. You create 1, 2, 3 at some point. Mm-hmm. It's pretty much the same.
It is like you change the content, but like the process is the same. And like you try to switch it up. So this is the other problem that I have with it. Like there's so many things that I want to do, but I know that the course won't sell very well, or it'll be it's too niche.
How do you know that?
I guess I don't know, but there is things. Yeah, like there's things that I know will sell, like, and a lot of the things that I want to do aren't those things that I know will sell well. Like maybe they will, but there's a few things that always sell well, like architecture courses, like beginner architect, anything beginner will sell very well. But I hate doing them. It's so boring. It's like I'm just going through the steps. There's like zero stimulation. It's not fun. So that was like a big one. It was there's a disconnect between your financial incentive and what's fun. And so it is not good, I think.
Yeah, I totally get you.
So that's the fourth one. And I guess the fifth one I kind of already just looped into all the other ones. So yeah, like basically like it's like I'm for the record, I still plan on doing my business. Like I still make courses. I made one last year. I'll make another. I'm going on maternity leave because our new baby's coming probably this week, and I'll be off for 4 months, full pay, by the way. Thank you, Square. And I'll probably work on a course in that time also.
Full-time employment.
Yeah, can you believe that?
Yeah.
4 months full pay.
Yeah, but we should also mention that it's because your wife probably, she doesn't take maternity leave. So it's not like both of you take. Usually it's, at least in Israel where I live, only one parent can take a maternity leave, paternity leave.
I know it's both. Like she could go on it too.
Oh.
Yeah.
Where do you live?
In Canada.
I'm moving there next week.
It's pretty crazy. Yeah. Like I couldn't, it's so much like but I think most tech companies do this now. Like all of the big tech companies, it seems pretty common that even the person who's not having the baby will get like 4 months off. Yeah. It seems to be like a pretty common new thing.
Wow. That's definitely something that would encourage
young
couples to move to that country. if you can get
I think US also. US also.
Really?
It's not just Canada. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. Good data point for us. If you'll have another one, I will mention that. Just find.
You just have one, right?
We have two.
Oh, you have two. You just had your second.
Yeah. I said another one, I think. Anyways, we have two.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
we're having our second.
And we've just had one, so it will take some time probably.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. What were we talking about again?
So we were talking about.
Yeah. So I might. Yeah. So I'll probably make a course since I'll have some. I mean, hopefully I'll have time. I'm not really sure because I'll be looking after the kid like full time. But I'm sure there'll be time. Like I can leave her at grandma's and have a couple days a week, and that'll be much more than I would have otherwise.
Yeah. Do you miss going full time on courses now after you've been working? No. So your job as a full time employee is satisfactory enough that you don't even consider making courses as a fun way to spend your time, your free time, let's say.
I mean, I made one. I did just make one, and it was fun. It was a very fun course to make, though. I made a GIF building app. Yeah, like you can record a GIF.
I saw that. Really cool.
Yeah, it's super fun. It's also fun too because I use it at work. Like I make emojis for Slack. Like anytime someone posts something cool or badass, I make the sunglasses sliding down onto their face emoji, and then I add it to Slack, and then everybody laughs every time. It's so funny. I love it. But yeah, it's good. It's a good place to work. I think it will depend on what team you end up on. Of course. Oh, actually, hold on. Let me finish what I was saying before I get into that. Yeah. So like overall, my plan is like, I'll probably go back to course making full time eventually, but I think maybe in like 10 years or something. Like I'll still make courses. Like I made one last year. I'll probably make another one this year, and I'll still make videos, but won't be nearly the pace that I was making them before. Like I was making like 4 or 5 a year or something. Like it was crazy. Because I think after 10 years of perspective working at a company, I'll be a much, much, much better software engineer with much better perspectives, and that the courses I make then will be much better. I think just because the experience that you have will be much better.
That's definitely the case, though. I don't think many people would be willing to spend 10 years working at a company to become so good at course making.
I don't know. It's like, what else am I going to do?
No, I mean, if you spend 10 years learning to make a course and then you make a course, I'm buying it whatever it costs. So
I know that's what I thought in my head. I'm like, if I spend 10 years at a company, like who's not going to buy those courses? Like, hey, I spent 10 years working at Google, Amazon, Square, wherever, and like now I make courses. Who's not buying that?
Yeah. And by the way, that's exactly my plan. So just to loop into my own experience. So I created courses for Udemy, and I came to this point where actually I know what Udemy wants, and I have enough. I have several tens of thousands of students there. So I'm like after the point where I made it, as you say, right? But I'm not willing to invest that much more time into that. I have a plan for the content for Udemy, but Android courses I don't want to put there because Udemy is optimized for the beginners courses. And as you said yourself, it's kind of very pain in the ass, and it's much more boring. And for me, it's just difficult to create these very long courses. Every time I want to create a course of 4 or 5 hours, it ends up being 10 plus hours. And the reason is that on Udemy, you need to optimize for the least knowledgeable and the laziest student. And I'm not saying that all students on Udemy like that, but it's enough that you have several of them that don't want to spend, let's say, 5 minutes Googling something really trivial that you haven't explained, and they give you 1-star rating and your course tanks. So you find yourself in a position to really optimize for the people who know the least, instead of optimizing for the people, which is my goal with my platform that I hope to finally built. I started 2 years ago, and then I just quit it because it was, anyways. Now I hope to finally succeed in that, and my goal would be to create courses like you said, like sharing my real world experience, real world approaches, stuff that would benefit professional Android developers or just software developers in general, without all these extra hours of explanations of pretty standard basic stuff just to make sure no one gives me 1 star.
Yeah, you just put in words what I never could about Udemy. I hate Udemy. And what you just were able to articulate is exactly what I think. I put up a couple free courses on there just to see like what that would be like. And that was my exact experience. It was like they want you to hold their hand through everything, and they're not capable of like Googling a random thing, which like if you're not capable of Googling something as a software engineer, you're in the wrong industry. Sorry.
And unfortunately, on platforms like Udemy, they get disproportional power over your ratings, your courses ratings. So you can actually invest tens of or hundreds of hours creating a video course, and it will be just a little bit too advanced for the average, not for the average, for the least knowledgeable student on Udemy, and then they will sync your course with ratings.
You described it perfectly.
And I do have a plan for the content for Udemy, and that will be content like optimized for beginners, really, but not in Android, because I'm really sick of explaining the basics. I want to share my real life experience. I want to discuss really interesting stuff that I'm dealing with in my professional career. And on Udemy, like you put an expert mark on the course and you still get exactly the same people signing up that have maybe 4 or 6 months of experience. And they want you to explain what activity is and what fragment is. Now, you work at Square, as you mentioned, and at the point where you decide that you want a full-time job due to the reasons that you explained, I guess you could pretty much choose from most of the companies, I guess, on the market, because you will be very experienced developer and well, that's the question. How much choice did you have back then, and how you ended up choosing Square?
Yes. And I will say now that I'm going to talk a bit about Square, that everything I say is my opinion. This is not, I'm not speaking for Square in any way. These are just my opinions and my interpretations of what it's like at Square. So take that for what it is. So I actually only applied to 2 places when I was looking for a job. I applied at Square and I applied at a bank. The reasons, the bank. I'll explain myself because it sounds weird. So Square, I think it's pretty obvious. Like there's famous Android engineers that work there. Salary's good.
Jake?
No, I've never talked to him.
Oh.
Yeah, I've talked to PY lots though, because he actually. So I spent probably 6 months-ish on working on some performance and reliability stuff. So like, this screen is laggy, and then you profile it and like try to figure out why and fix. So I did that for like 6 months straight. I still do it sometimes, but there was like a period of time when I was only doing that, and he like helped me get started with that. He was like my, quote unquote mentor. And so that was awesome. He's so knowledgeable. He's amazing. Huge brain. Crazy.
Yeah.
So that was really cool.
But sorry, I kind of derailed you from your explanation about why you consider bank and Square with my fanboying of Jake. So let's just put it aside for a second and we will get back to it. But why would you consider either bank or Square?
Yeah. Okay. So famous Android engineers who work at Square. They have, good salaries, but all the big tech companies have competitive salaries. So that's not like an outlier. But still good salary. I know several people who work there, like Aiden Follestad. I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name. I did a podcast with him.
Yeah, I watched it.
He had worked there for years before I applied. And I talked to him, and I've talked to several people who work there, and everybody said the same thing. It was like great place to work, great work-life balance. The things they were working on sounded interesting. Like they try and adopt like new Android things reasonably quickly. Obviously, you can't just take on a brand new thing that comes out, immediately. Just it sounded like a good place to work. There was famous people there. Salary was good. Work-life balance was good.
So that's correct. That's a no-brainer for us. Now let's talk about the bank thing.
Yeah, the bank. Yeah, so pretty much I was pretty much only going to apply at Square, but then I know somebody who works at this bank in Canada, and they were like, this was like the lazy part of me appealing to me. She was like, oh, it's like really easy here. Like you would be like, you could work probably 2 hours a day and collect your salary. And I'm like, that sounds kind of nice. And I could work on my business and just work but then that totally goes against like what I was saying before, like why I'm getting a job in the first place. So obviously I didn't end up doing that because it was kind of just like, I don't know. I'm the lazy like demon that lives deep in my head was like, yes, easy money, go do it.
Yeah. But thumbs up to you for conquering this part of yourself. And I'm sure that in retrospect you are much happier at Square than you could ever be at some bank where working for 2 hours a day.
Yeah, I was talking to them about like some of the things, and they use such like old things, and they like things rarely change. It's just like you do nothing. And it sounds like
do not dare touching this part of code. Never.
Yeah,
it works. It's a bank.
Yeah, exactly. It works. Don't touch it.
Yeah. Okay, great. So actually, you didn't have much choice. You just knew where you're going, and you just went right after it.
Yeah. Oh, also, actually, one other thing was Square, their interview process, they allow you to choose from a data structure and algorithm style interview or a take-home project style interview.
Oh.
So, yeah. So for like an Android, and I think this totally makes sense for Android because Android is so different and difficult. Like having a take-home project I think totally makes sense for Android.
I think it makes sense for everything. Is there any area except for algorithms that you would consider this algorithmic stuff more reliable indicator than a take-home project?
The only sort of caveat that I would say there is like it's not always. I don't know if it's always practical to be able to build a take-home project for other, other job types. Like with Android, it's fairly quick to build a simple app that like displays a list of data, gets it from an API, caches it, maybe, does some other thing. But for other things, I don't know if there's small enough projects that you could do it in 4 or 5 hours I don't know.
I get what you're saying.
Maybe not.
Well, probably in web development and stuff like that, yes. Maybe in, how do you call it? Site reliability engineers, that would be a little bit more challenging.
Yeah, or like AI people, I don't even know what they do.
They don't know what they do. No one knows. I mean, it looks to me that AI is like, and I had the chance to work with some guys. Some of my projects were in this area, so it looks like they're like 1 in 10, something like that, actually know what they do, and the rest just playing around, getting their salary, and producing almost zero impact. But that one guy who knows what they do, they kind of compensate for the rest.
Oh, I see.
And it's really difficult. I mean, I'm really, really good at identifying good developers. It's like in a moment I can during the interview, I can see what people, I don't know, it's kind of a technical intuition. With AI folks, it's like zero. I talk to them and I'm like, I'm feeling like, like you could read mind and then suddenly you lose this ability. So yeah, AI is very interesting area. Okay, so you interviewed at Square, you chose to build the project, right? Not to go through this algorithmic stuff.
No, because then I'd have to spend like 3 months practicing, and there is no way I wanted to do that. That's like torture,
Yeah.
self-inflicted torture.
Okay, could you just maybe tell us what the project was? Maybe not the details, so not to ruin their interview process, but just the level of complexity that went into it and what you used.
Yeah, I can talk about it in a generic way. It was, you have to build a project, and the only thing I can really say about it without giving anything away, I think, is it's nothing that you haven't done on Android before. It, like, if you've spent any reasonable amount of time on Android, 100% you have done this.
So basics.
And it's like, it's base. I wouldn't say it's basics, because like, how do you define basics? You know, like everybody probably has a different interpretation of what's basic. But if you've built any sort of production level app, it's nothing that you haven't done. I guarantee that. That's what I would say.
Nice. So
there's no like tricks. There's no surprises. It's like, do you know Android? This is a good evaluation of do you know Android, I think.
And do you have like a limited time for that?
Yeah, they give you they give you the take-home project, and they say you should only spend 4 to 5 hours on it to finish it. But you can technically spend as much as you want. But like, if it takes you longer than that, you probably shouldn't be applying, basically. And then you submit it, and they review it. And then if you pass the review, a recruiter reaches out to you, and then they schedule a like on-site interview where, and I can talk about this part. So if you go to the on-site interview, you do 4 separate interviews. Oh, my fingers aren't in view. 4 separate interviews. Two of them, they're each 1 hour sessions. 2 of the 1 hour sessions are technical. So you build on to the take home project that you built previously. So like, if you took 10 hours to build it, you're going to fail these parts, guaranteed.
Very clever.
So that,
and basically this also protects them from the possibility that someone outsourced, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I've done interviews where it was, I've actually done interviews where people, like, it was my code. They copied my code from like my GitHub, like from my courses. Well, it was like,
I mean, you interviewed people who wanted to get into Square, and they just basically copied your own code.
I was doing the code review, and I'm like, this is my code. I went to my repo, and I'm like, the models are the same. The structure is the same. This is my code. So funny. So some of the comments were even still in there.
Oh.
It was really awkward. It was like, well, I can't really review this. And I feel like this is just a fail, because like 80% of this is copied from me. So I don't know.
Yeah, but that's like a very interesting question. Like, I mean, we all copy paste code. You don't write much new code. But the question is like, are they copy pasting the entire project, or they copy pasting like parts of it? But okay, it doesn't matter. So basically, you went through 2 additional technical interviews built on top of what you submitted as your take-home assignment, and then 2 additional interviews.
Yes. 2 additional interviews. The first one is it's an architecture and design. So this one is like, you would think of it as there's no code, but it's like a technical interview. So you're talking about technical topics,
drawing
but there's no code.
UML diagrams on the blackboard.
Yeah. It's always nice if you bring diagrams, or you draw diagrams while you're going, that kind of stuff. And then the last one is a behavioral interview, where they ask questions like, you know, how you work on a team, how you work with project managers, how you work with CS, customer service.
And how did you answer all these questions? I've never worked with one.
because I had no. Yeah, basically that's what I said. I'm like, well, I have not, but what I did have, I guess, that probably helped was I have students, and I talk and engage with students.
Yeah,
like I have a Discord channel. I'm talking in there. Yeah, I don't know. Seemed to be fine because they hired me. So
yeah, I guess like the way you answered these questions was more important than the content of your answers.
Yeah, because I think like I'm not speaking for Square here, but like what I think this interview is all about is like, are you a piece of shit? Are you a terrible person to work with, or are you a nice person to work with?
Yeah.
Do you like lie about things?
And the
Like,
way they
just
judge that is just by their intuition in a conversation with you. So it wouldn't that matter much what you answer. You could tell them whatever you do, whatever you want, like even lies. What they want to hear is to hear you speaking. And if they think that you are lying, then well, thank you very much. We don't want you here.
Yeah.
And as long as you're honest and direct, and if there are some aspects that you lack, like yourself, but you're upfront about them, and you can talk about your own, limitations in a grown-up, serious manner, then well, thank you, you're hired.
Yeah, you probably are 100% right on that.
Okay, so you went through this quite a long interview process. By the way, what's your without specifying details, but what's your let's call it seniority level at Square at the point that you entered the company?
I'm an L4.
It's out of L, how many?
Yeah. So they call L6 a terminal position. Like I don't know the statistics, but like that is many people don't go higher than L6. So, and that L5 would be a senior, L6 would be a senior, and then L7, and then there's L7 and L8. I think that's the highest.
Yeah. So that will be like a principal and fellow.
Yeah, like I don't want to name names.
Yeah,
but
like every company names them differently. So you're basically starting as a relatively senior.
Just a regular.
It's a regular.
I'm not a senior. I'm just like a regular old Android engineer.
Oh, so there are no 1, 2, 3 before, like.
No, it like seems to start at 3. I don't know.
I see. So 3, 4, etc.
Yeah, I don't know what 1 and 2 are, but I don't think they exist.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you start as a regular engineer, and that's your interviewing process. Well, they invest quite a bit into that.
Yeah. Even if you're hired at L6, the interview is the same.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it only changes when you get to like higher than that, or manager. The manager one is, I think, slightly different also.
Okay. Nice to know. For people who would like to apply to Square, obviously. And
yeah, it's a nice place to work.
Yeah. I will put a Square logo here, like promoted content.
There are things like people. I don't want to just sound like a fanboy or anything. Like if I didn't like it, I probably wouldn't be telling you the things that I didn't like, because I would get fired. But like if I didn't like it, I wouldn't talk about it probably, So you can take my non-silence as like, yeah, it's probably a nice place to work.
Yeah, I will take the fact that you stay there as a proof that it's a nice place to work, because unlike many other people, you don't have to stay there. You have a choice. And so for you, it's like every day is a conscious choice of, am I staying there or I'm going back to my business? And well, it's pretty screaming the fact that you're staying.
Yeah, and I have no plans to leave. Like it's really great. Like I feel very lucky too, though, because I think it will depend on what team you end up on. Like the people you work with can make or break your day to day. Like if you just don't get along with somebody and you have to interact with them every day, you're going to want to put a gun in your mouth.
What's the size of a typical team at Square and how it's structured?
I don't know if I can talk about that. I probably shouldn't.
Okay. No.
I'm not really sure. I feel like the inner workings of the team mechanics, I don't know. I'm not sure. So I probably should. I don't know if that's public, so I shouldn't talk about it.
No problem with that. So let's talk about what you learned. So you've been at Square for how long now?
A year and a half or something.
It's a year and a half.
No, maybe slightly less than a year and a half.
Okay. More than a year. It's more than enough time to get the experience, to learn the culture, to understand what you like and what you don't like about it. And you mentioned already several things that you learned about the process, about the communication, but let's just formalize this part. Looking back from the point you entered the company, what were your biggest learning experiences? What did you learn that you would say changed the way you look at software development, if any?
Those are big questions.
Yeah.
Change the way I look at software development.
And you went into the company, right? As you said, you wanted a different experience. You wanted to learn, to see how it works on a big scale. You wanted to change, to learn something that would make you a different, a much better course creator. So that's something that, in my opinion, would amount to a groundbreaking revelation. And not just, I learned this additional tech or that additional tech. Or maybe not. Maybe I'm mistaken and it's not a big thing.
Yeah, I don't think it's that big yet because I think it will take a while. I think it will take time for me to get to L7 or something higher and more to deal with, because right now I'm fairly low level, so I don't see I don't have good visibility on the big problems really, because I'm just not part of those meetings, but there are things for sure. One thing that I knew nothing about, that I gained a lot of experience with, was we have different verticals because I work for restaurants. So we have tablet versions. We have a mobile phone version. We have another device that Square makes, which is roughly the size of a phone. So a lot of the code is the business code is shared. Sometimes there's different implementations because obviously a tablet screen will have a much different UI than a phone screen. So, excuse me, a lot of the time you can't share the code, or most of the time you can share the code. Sometimes you can't. So the way that the modules are structured was a big one that I learned, separating them in terms of vertical and trying to, and making sure not to tangle them. That was a big thing. If you have a slightly different implementation on tablet and a slightly different implementation on mobile, or maybe that UI doesn't even exist on the tablet, but it only exists on mobile. So based on the dagger graph, how do you do that when you're building the different implementations? So something that I had never done before is building a no-op. So something that is not, it's an implementation that's not used. So you build the implementation on mobile, and then you have a no-op on tablet. So the dagger graph builds this thing that does nothing, basically, just to satisfy the dagger graph. That was probably the biggest one. The module structuring based on different verticals and serving different UIs and having different implementations or no-op implementations on some verticals.
Yeah, so basically large-scale code-based organization.
Large-scale code.
Very specific and I wouldn't say unique, but very specific business scenarios. In your case, that would be running on multiple devices, which you probably know by name, right? If you're working at, it's not something that you can download from Google Play, or you do.
There is actually one on Google Play now. It's in beta. There's a phone version, but yeah, we have very specific. We make the device, so we know the exact size of the screen, and then we make a mobile version. We know the exact size of the screen, and now we have a beta phone version that's coming out. But even that, we know the exact dimensions because it's a chosen device, a chosen mobile device.
And this still falls into the kind of technical domain. What have you had any challenges integrating into the team work or the organization in general, from, let's say, from personal perspective, from the perspective of work hours? Because before you joined Square, you were the owner of your own time. You could work at night, you could work, or you could not. You could just take a vacation.
Could not work.
Yeah, at any time. And now you need to work 7 to 3 p.m. every day, and you have
Yep.
the weekends for yourself and your family. So was this transition smooth, or you kind of struggled with it? And if it was smooth, do you think it's better for you, or like more aligned with your, let's say, internal preferences?
Yeah, it was pretty easy. Like, I get along really well with my team. Everybody's great, so there was no like issues there. That was like probably the biggest thing I was worried about, was having somebody on my team that I don't get along with. I have a big mouth. Like, I have a problem in my personal life. I sometimes I can't help myself. I just say, like, if I don't like somebody, I'll just say something, and it always gets me in trouble every time. And so I was honestly worried about that. But it's been great. Like, I have no issues with anybody. Everybody's great. I get along with them. They have great senses of humor. I like to joke around a lot, so that's cool. My manager is amazing. I feel like I've been gifted a manager from God, like, somehow. I'm not religious, by the way, in case somebody thought I was. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I have no experience, so I don't know if he's great, or I just don't know. But
no,
I don't know.
No. If you think he is great, if you feel great, then he is great, because either or don't know, when you've got an average, or God forbid, a poor manager, that whether you have experience or not, it just makes your life miserable. And I've had very good managers and very bad managers, so I know that how it feels. You don't need any comparison point. You just kind of struggle and suffer if your manager isn't good. And a good manager, and I was spoiled by a good manager because it was my first manager in the industry, and I just took it for granted. But then I realized, oh no, that's not the norm.
Okay, so I'm trying not to take it for granted, because that's how I feel right now. I feel like, wow, first job, manager's amazing. What the hell?
What makes your manager so amazing for you?
Oh, if I show this to him, he's gonna start crying probably.
Okay, so he is very sensitive. He's
a sensitive guy. Yeah. He's like anything goes wrong, he's on your side always. He's like me and a coworker talked about him once, and we were like, he's like a bulldog. He'll like and he's like in your corner. He'll just like, anything comes up, he's like on your side, even if you're maybe not right. That feels pretty good. And then he really cares about you. It's not like this made up caring about you thing. He seems like honestly like, oh, you're not feeling good today, just get out of here, don't work. Or some random thing comes up, like, I don't know, your dog got sick, he'll be like, what are you doing at work? Get out of here, why are you here? That kind of stuff. Or if you're feeling a little sick, he'll be like, why, like, go home, stop working. Yeah, like, he just seems to like actually care about. And we do like weekly one-on-ones, and we talk about like work stuff, but sometimes like your life stuff. And I don't know, he seems really good at like getting things out of you that could potentially be bothering you, and then he tries to address them. Yeah, he just seems like, and then not just the empathy sort of part of it. He runs a tight ship too. Like, we write good code. He encourages us he pushes when at the right times, and he pulls back at the right times. He writes good documentation. The meetings are not like, you're not wasting time. They're not stupid meetings. It's just generally good. I can't really think of anything I don't like, honestly.
And on the technical side, will you say that he's some kind of a unique individual, or his technical skills, like, pretty much everything you've just said comes onto the like soft skills, right? Like, sounds like a good pal. I would take him for beer. And
100%.
My question would be, how much, like, let's assume you say that he's pretty good technically, but let's assume that he wouldn't be that great technically.
I didn't say that.
No, you said that he writes good documentation and pushes you into the good code. But let's just assume that for a moment, I don't know, just an assumption that he is not that great technically, but he still has all these other features and behaves the way he behaves right now. Would that make him much worse manager, or would that be not very important in your opinion?
I don't think he's very strong technically. He's not like bad, but he's not obviously not like us because he doesn't write code. Like he obviously got the job, so he had to go through the same interview process that we did. So he was good enough to get in. But like, yeah, I wouldn't say he's like a particularly technically strong, but I don't know that either because I haven't really seen him write code, so I shouldn't say that. But let's
say
I think
you
it's
like him not
unlikely.
because of his technical skills, and his technical skills are pretty much orthogonal to your opinion of him because you don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, and I don't know.
Yeah. That was my experience, like with this first manager that I told you, first that spoiled me. That was my experience as well. He was amazing manager, everything that you've just said, and I don't think I've ever saw him coding.
I don't either.
Or doing,
I've never
or
seen
doing
him code
really
anything.
and he will just like, he had a technical lead. We had a technical lead, the guy who was like responsible for the technical stuff, and he was like a 100% manager, and it was amazing. He was a buffer between our team and the entire universe and
organization.
I would say even more than that, more than the organization, because as you said, there are personal manners that a good manager also takes into account, except for the organizational needs. So
exactly.
This description fits my experience 100%. And I think you did land on a very good manager right there.
Lucky me.
Lucky you.
Excellent.
Yeah. But you know how they say, luck is a combination of, how they call it? Willingness and readiness. So
I was ready.
So you was ready and you were willing. So
yeah, nice.
Okay, so I'm just trying to understand what, like, it sounds like you've been in the wrong place for a couple of years because you obviously enjoy working as a full-time employee. You obviously don't feel like it's kind of a limitation on your freedom, let's say, which at this point in my life, I would definitely consider full-time employment to be a step down in my in my ability to control my time. And as you said, I work much more than a standard full-time employee. And and sometimes, I mean, my family will definitely benefit and would definitely be willing for me to go and work somewhere that my weekends are truly mine and not dedicated to work. But you don't struggle with any of that. So I just wonder, would you, if anyone considers whether they work full-time or not, they consider to become content creator, but they are a little bit unsure about whether this path is for them. At this point, when you tried both hats and you found empirically that it looks like you prefer the full-time employment at a great company on a great team more than being a content creator as successful as you were, do you have any tips for people to help them decide whether, or see or intuit whether content creation is something that might be for them? Or otherwise, what will be your points for someone to notice that maybe they should go full-time employment? Have you ever thought about what makes you enjoy full-time employment so much, except for the fact that you landed in an obviously great team?
Yeah, I think, a big caveat there is like the place I ended up is pretty great, not just the company, but the team. And, I ended up in a pretty ideal place. Like manager's great, team's great, company's great. So it's like, what do I have to complain about?
I want to interject something. One, like the biggest pain point for me when I moved from full-time employment to being a freelancer, even not content creator, just a freelancer initially, was that I couldn't have lunch with people. and I miss these lunches. I just sat down at my home, and I just constantly thought, wow, I could have lunch with some folks. So, like, maybe the question is not, maybe the fact that your team is so great is less important than the fact that you do have a team. You see what I mean? Like, is this the loneliness and the willing and the kind of willingness to have company? Might that be the case?
I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, maybe, but I doubt it. I don't mind being alone. Like, I like being alone. Even it doesn't bother me at all.
Really?
Yeah.
You do
like
not
it really
come across as some kind of an introverted guy?
No, well, like on the weekends and stuff, like I always hang out with my friends, but like always, but on during the week, like I am totally fine sitting on my computer for 12 hours a day, and it wouldn't bother me at all. I don't know.
So
I doubt it. I doubt it is what I'm saying. I doubt it was like this need for companionship or something. Like I skip as many meetings as I can.
Well, meetings is not exactly socializing. Meetings is just a
I guess
excruciating pain, and well, it actually depends on how your team operates, of course, and what your manager thinks about that. But in many cases, it's just a waste of time.
Yeah. What else did you asked? You asked some other things that I wanted to answer.
Like, what would be your advice or things that you think people should keep in mind when deciding whether to go for the content creators or full-time employment? Because again, and that's something that I really felt and feel still. People who are willing to put in the work, willing to put in the hours, they can probably be successful in many different paths, right? So
yeah, it's mostly a time thing. I think it's like a time and effort thing.
Exactly. But then you might discover, and you're like for example, I talked to Florian, right? My latest podcast, Florian Walther, and he went through the same path. He didn't end up going full-time employment, but he switched to web development, and now he looks much more, much happier person
alive
than he was when he coded Android. So in some cases, it's the organization, is the nature of employment. And in some cases, it's really just the aspect of what you do, right? For switching from one technical area to another technical area. And I wonder if like you could maybe help us understand, or just your intuition, what would be the early signs as a content creator to know that maybe it's not for you, or early signs as a full-time employer to know that maybe a content creation is the way for you?
I don't think so. I don't think there's like 3 key signs that you want to be a content creator, or like, like something like that. I think it's like you just gotta try it.
Have a clickbait here.
Yeah, oh damn, that was gonna be the title.
three simple steps to become a multi-million content creator.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't think there's any shortcut. I mean, yeah, it's like you gotta just try it probably and see what you like. Like I could do either one, but like right now it seems like the best for me to be doing the job, for all the reasons I said earlier, like experience and all that stuff. But also like it fits my life really well right now. Like we have a 2-year-old, or almost 2-year-old. My wife's probably going to push out the second baby like next week. And me, like my day looks like work 7 to 3, then I work out, and then I either play a couple games, like I maybe get like an hour or 2 to myself where I'm like
computer games,
relaxing. Yeah, computer games. But so hold on, let me finish. And then I play with my kid, and then me and my wife hang out, and then I go to bed. So like for a self-employed person, like you're working much more probably. Like you're working probably 10 hours a day instead of 8 hours a day. And you're also more stressed because you are constantly worrying about everything. And at the job, it's like it's just more like it just fits my life better right now because it's like kind of chaos and just being a like also my like people don't talk about this. This is another thing. Dealing with your wife is or like partner or whatever you have is like a whole separate thing because they always want more of your time. They always want like, here, come do this with your kid. Come like do whatever the fuck. And it's so hard when you're already like run down and working 10 hours a day, not because you like really want to, but because you have to, because you're running your business. And then your wife is like also constantly like trying to get more time out of you. It's just like, it's hard. It's really hard to be like, say no and shoo her off. And like, you feel bad because you know, she's right. And you should be spending more time with your family. But then it's like, but you have to do this because you have to make money. And so with the job, it's like, it's very like we're both on the same page. I'm working 8 hours and then I'm going to work out and then I'm mostly free. And so like, it's the same thing every day. It's like a much more, I don't know. Everybody's on the same page,
Yeah.
I guess.
I think it's a great message because usually when, people, online influencers, they discuss lifestyle, like lifestyle work and work-life balance, etc. In most cases, I hear them promoting this kind of content creation, get control over your time, create your business, whatever
it's not.
and it's really very rare to hear people say like, get a job at a company that you like, work with people that you like, and that will be the best like work lifestyle, whatever.
Seems to be right now, and then like weekends too. Like obviously you have weekends. I don't know. It seems to work for us. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's not a general advice to anyone, but it does. Yeah. I think it does worth emphasizing the fact that this might be the path for many people, and even in my opinion, even maybe for even the most people, because definitely being a content creator, being any kind of a freelancer or a business owner, is very, very stressful, and not for most people, in my opinion. So it's a very positive message. Though the caveat here is really that you need to find the place where you feel the way you feel, or at least something approximating that.
Yeah, which is probably rare, I would think. I don't know though, but it seems like unlikely that you're going to be happy.
Stats, except from my personal anecdotal experience, but that will be 50-50 approximately, or even
What are your like? I don't know anything about places that you've worked. What kind of experience have you had?
I started in semiconductors industry. I worked at Intel,
I know that
basically, and I designed microchips for some time. And then after 3 years, I left and started building my kind of startup, Android application. And then from there, I just switched sides because when you work in the semiconductors industry, the projects are crazy long, like years, and your input into that project is minuscule. However important you are, like on the large scale, it's hundreds, sometimes thousands of people working on the project. So it was very appealing to me, the speed and the impact that you can make in software. So that I just experienced that, and I said, okay, I'm not going back.
Yeah. I remember you talked about that the first time we had the podcast. But what kind of jobs have you, like Android jobs have you been? I don't think we talked about your Android jobs at all.
Yeah,
like specifically.
That's not that much. Like a full-time employee, I worked at. Let's see. I started at some security company. They built antiviruses and stuff. And then I moved to a company that said during the interview process that they're going to be the next Amazon. And that should be, should have been the place where I say, okay, thank you, I'm out of here. But I was too young to understand that. So I kind of like delved into the mission and worked for a year approximately until I realized that this project goes nowhere. And after I left, this company struggled for about a year, burned through, I don't know, maybe $40 million, something like that. And
went nowhere.
Absolutely nowhere. And then I went for the freelancing career. And well, obviously, I worked on many different projects since then. So my full-time employment as an Android developer is just 2 companies.
But what, like, with your freelance career, like, what types of apps have you worked on? Or can you say even specifically which apps?
It's really different. Very, very, very.
Like, what does a typical contract length look like for you?
Well, I
like
started
when you get a contract,
as everybody, with developing entire applications. So either from scratch or maybe maintaining them, etc. Today, I'm usually trying to get contracts which are 3 months or less of my time, which are high intensity contracts, and trying to, as much as I can, of course, high impact contracts. So, for example, my last several projects was some innovative cryptographic solution for authentication. Can't say more than that, but it's something that maybe will go to government distribution at some point. And before that, I worked on the application that, these guys, they basically built an AI model that would analyze some specific ultrasounds and basically would assist doctors in during the ultrasound process when they kind of capture the ultrasounds, and also a model to infer some diagnosis from it. So I built the first version of their application.
Like, you built the whole thing by yourself?
Just the client, not the AI model. Before they work for,
right. So they give you some API, and then you integrate the API into an app or something.
Exactly. Yeah. A little bit more than that, because you need to actually do the ultrasound. So it's like a little bit of capturing images and sending them, and real-time communication with the server. Some very interesting aspects of Android, like I abused accessibility service on their behalf. And before that, well, I can't even remember. I forget about this stuff quickly. But that's the kind of things that I do. Or I jump into existing projects and try to, like, for example, I optimized one SDK. Now I need to be careful.
Yeah.
They were in the business of live streaming, and they optimized live streaming in one very interesting way. And but then they had performance problems with that. So I had to jump into their SDK and understand why they have performance problems and how to fix them. And part of the logic, it quickly became evident that the problem was with the part of the logic that was in JavaScript. So I had to, instead of optimizing Android, I had to learn very quickly to optimize JavaScript. That was fun.
Yeah. What did you use to, like, profile it, like, to figure out what was slow?
Well, Android is like, there are many Android tools, and when it came to JavaScript, it's just a lot of printouts. I don't know if you've had the chance to work with JavaScript and Android. It goes through this bridge stuff. So
I've used it a little bit.
So you end up writing JavaScript and pushing it into the web view, and then implementing some kind of a bridge to get stuff back, and then you implement loggers inside the JavaScript side. Like, it's a clusterfuck. It's really a clusterfuck, but it was a critical part of their infrastructure. And I think that company actually sold for a very, very nice amount of money shortly after I did a project for them. So maybe I was doing a project for a critical, strategic customer. And I don't know who this customer was, but maybe that was the acquiring company. So I try to work on interesting projects, because, like yourself, at this point, I feel that, like, money-wise, I'm probably better off investing time into courses, but I don't like that. And I built a startup. I forgot. I forgot the biggest thing. So for the reason I didn't, eventually haven't created any courses in 2022 is because in January we started building a startup, and it raised money, etc. So I work for a startup, and now I own a little bit of stake in that startup.
Oh, cool. So it's still, like, alive and running today?
Yeah, it's live, very much live, running, and it started piloting.
You can't tell us what it is?
No, I cannot yet, but it started piloting in several places, and the feedbacks are great, and we got funding. So
Nice.
things look very promising. And it's crazy, crazy complex project. I mean, like everything, I will write a blog post about that. So it's kind of
Cool.
difficult to describe in words how complex this thing is.
How did you get funding? Like, what was I don't know anything about
we started
the funding process.
Startup, worked our asses off, and one guy, the CEO, put some money of his own money into it, and then we built the prototype in several months. Started working with real customers. They didn't pay us at that time, but they were like prototyping it. And once we've got some initial proof of concept and some initial market feedback, we just went for to investors, VCs, and started discussing.
And so, but like, how do you just find them? People you know?
I don't. But our the founder of the startup, the CEO, he's already past his first exit, so he's kind of connected in the industry, so he knows the game. Right. I was there just like a technical guy, speaking technical stuff and doing technical due diligence. So yeah, that was crazy interesting. And now,
that sounds fun.
And now I'm less involved with the startup actually. So I kind of did the lifting, and now I'm just kind of a consultant there. So my role there becomes really small, and hopefully I will get back to my courses. Yeah.
Nice.
I should have started with that. I don't know how. It's like I spent the entire year on that.
That's the most exciting. That's the most exciting thing.
I mean, I spent the entire year on that, and I almost forgot to mention.
How many other Android people were working on it?
Just one. I hired the guy.
Oh,
so I hired the guy, and now he's obviously a full-time employee, and
you're the consultant.
And he's great. Yeah, he's my boss now.
He's your boss.
My boss now. Yeah, I hired a developer with less than 2 years of experience. I interviewed like 5 developers, all of them 5+ years. But something about that guy just caught my attention, and I invited him. We started at Upwork, so I invited him into my project, and I interviewed him and said, "Okay, we will hire that." And the CEO told me like, "Are you sure? Like he looks very young and very inexperienced." I said, "Yeah, but I think he is the most promising candidate." And
interesting.
It turned out to be absolutely amazing. Just an amazing find. Just nice. The way I like finding this, the diamonds before they are diamonds, while they're in this raw form, and you just nudge them a little bit and you teach them a little bit, and they're very eager to learn, and they're very responsible, and then they grow. They become your bosses at some point.
That does sound nice.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. It's just amazing to see that. And I'm sure that you see that with your courses, right? The students who join and then tell you, I found a job at that company, I'm now at that company.
Yeah. People have even joined Square that have done that. And that's like, that's very rewarding.
So you meet them in the coffee area.
They slack me.
They slack you.
Well, I work remote, so there's no coffee area.
Oh, you 100% remote? Never go to office?
Yeah, never.
Oh, that's an interesting point to discuss. Is there an office next to you, or like it's just not technically possible?
No. There's one in Toronto in Canada, but that's on the other side of the country. So all of Square's positions are remote if you want. I think any position, even like project manager, like anything, it's all remote if you want. You can go into the office if you want to, if you live near one, but you don't have to.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the interesting aspects of COVID, that it just pushed everything that was kind of slowly moving to this remote mode of work. It just pushed that into that direction at a ultra high speed. And today it's really like things open up greatly. But I kind of like you've so much talked about your team and your manager and everything, and I kind of assumed implicitly that you do meet them at least occasionally. But you said that all of that greatness and all of that chemistry and all of that collaboration, all of that you achieved completely remote, working completely remotely. Have you ever met them? Do you have some offsites or on-sites?
Yeah, we did one offsite in when did we do it? I don't know. Last year sometime. We did it, and it was super fun. We went to Oakland, California for 3 or 4 days or something. they flew everybody from the restaurants teams in, and we stayed in hotels and we went and showed up to their office every day, and we watched like presentations, but they were some of them were really fun. Like they brought a magician in once and we watched a magic show. It was like I thought it was going to be really boring, like all day sitting in the office, but it was pretty fun. The presentations were entertaining. And then at night, we went out for dinner and drinks every night. It was great. I got hammered one night, absolutely hammered.
I think that's the goal of these offsites, no?
Yeah, I think so too. It was honestly quite a bit of fun. It was nice to meet everybody, and dinner and drinks every night paid for was excellent.
One of the best places I've worked at, there was very open culture, and we just had a wall full of alcohol, and the CEO of the company, well, it was a global company, let's say CEO of our local Israeli branch of the company, will just randomly jump to our, it wasn't open space, but it was like big offices, like a room for 12 people, something like that. And our entire team would sit there and we will do shots every day. When it was a rule, if we stay after 4 p.m., everyone who stays does shots. And the CEO would occasionally drop in, and share a shot with that. And then we would do offsites, and the CEO would just get completely, like, to the point he's almost unconscious. Yeah, to the point that people need to drag him out of that place. And it was absolutely amazing place to work in, let's say, culture-wise, right? Technically, it wasn't that great, and eventually the company was just sold, so this office was dismantled eventually. But while I was there, it was absolutely crazy time.
It sounds like it.
But
shots after 4 p.m.
I now have a couple of more questions.
You have more questions?
Yeah.
Sure.
For this entire time, I assumed that at least partially, I kind of realized that you will be working at least partially like remote, but I did assume that you do know your coworkers and you meet with them at least, say, once a week. And now you said that you were completely remote. So what would be, like, how your remote interaction looks that you manage to develop that level of affection to your teammates and your manager?
Well, yeah, I don't know. I guess
dailies, weeklies.
What would you say?
Rituals. Do you have any kind of rituals, dailies, weeklies?
Oh, we do our daily stand up. But that's just talking about what we're doing.
Everyone do, right? So you basically every day you start by meeting with your coworkers, and everyone gets some screen time to speak about what they do.
Yeah, briefly talk about what they're doing. And then that's also a good time to figure out, like, if there's any overlap between what you're working on, or we do a mixed meeting with the iOS people and the Android people who are working on the similar parts of the code base too. I think we never used to do that, but I think that's quite effective because just keep making sure that we're both sort of on the same page on iOS and Android. A lot of the time we run into similar problems too. So like you could share insights. Then we do sprint planning every 2 weeks. Oh, wait, I don't even know if I'm supposed to talk about this stuff. Maybe I shouldn't. It's probably fine. Sprint planning every 2 weeks.
I mean,
that's
it's pretty standard
stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's standard stuff.
It varies slightly, but it's pretty standard that all companies.
Yeah, and then we also do one-on-ones. Like we usually schedule a 15 to 30 minute one-on-one with everybody on the team once every 2 weeks or so. No, the whole team. Everybody on the whole team.
You mean you have like one-on-one with every single team member?
Yeah.
Oh, that's an interesting idea. I never heard of that before.
Yeah, not. Sometimes if we're busy, we like reschedule it, but like it's just like literally, there's no topic. It's just we have a scheduled 15 to 30 minute meeting with everybody on our team just to chat. It can be about what we're working on, or it can not. It doesn't matter.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's kind of cool.
Maybe
that's
the secret sauce.
I don't know. Yeah, we get to know each other a lot better that way. If there's no itinerary, so it's like, what else are you going to talk about? You're going to talk about your personal life, Yeah, and we do that. And there's other smaller meetings, but generally that's the only meetings that I go to. I like to go to as little meetings as I can.
Can you choose which meetings you attend?
Somewhat. Like you should go to your stand up. You really should go to sprint planning. Everything else is like there's probably wiggle room. So generally I try to not go unless I think it's like really important that I go. But I think like developing relationships too is like a lot of it is like you could do it over text. Like you can sense sarcasm, you can sense humor, like using emojis and like even reviewing PRs, like the way that people, I don't know, like you can like there's a text culture. I think like there's
How
a
would you describe
communication
the
style.
culture of communication at Square as a? I mean, is it accommodating and nicely going, or is it more like a challenging, like a little bit?
Like,
little
are
bit
people helpful?
No, I mean, like,
Is that what you're asking?
How would I describe that? There's like this very nice, polite way of talking and sending everyone the smileys, and there's also like, usually guys like this way of communication where you challenge each other a bit, and when you, for example, do pull request review, you throw a kind of a joke like who wrote this shitty code, something like that. And I worked at all of them, not all of them, but a wide range of different team dynamics, and I think that all of them can work. It depends really on the people and on the team and what people expect. But I'm curious about your experience at Square, or maybe your team specifically, because probably can't know for the entire company.
I try not to say things like who wrote this shitty code unless it's my code. Then it's fine, because I don't know. I never really know who takes it personally or who doesn't. This one guy on my team, I will push it a little farther and be like, say things like that, but probably only him. But otherwise, I love to joke and paste memes into PR reviews. That's like one of my favorite things to do.
For example, what would be a meme in a PR review? I want to learn. I don't do that, so maybe I'm missing something here.
My favorite meme is the Helmo meme. Google it. It's Elmo, like Elmo, the red doll, and he's got his hands up, and there's flames behind him.
Yeah. Okay.
That is my favorite meme. It's like everything's burning. I am one with the flames.
So like you post that on a piece of code that is non-optimal, in your opinion, to indicate that something here went wrong.
Or like you're making the best out of a shitty situation, like you're in the flames. Good times.
Yeah, I've got a friend who works at a company, and what he started to do during COVID to kind of make their meetings a little bit lighter and encourage people, he started making custom backgrounds for every single meeting, daily stand-up. So each day he will do a custom background that involves the pictures of his teammates. So
sounds time-consuming.
Probably, but their work is not very time-consuming by itself, and he is good with Photoshop because he started his career not as a software developer, but as a graphics guy. So for him, it's not that time-consuming. So this sounds a little bit along these lines. I must say that I'm pretty boring in pull request reviews. I'm like,
I try to be funny.
It's very hard for me to like when we speak, when it comes to verbal communication. I think I'm pretty light guy, but when it comes to technical writing stuff, it's like the Russian from me goes out, and
you can't help yourself.
Yes, and this code is not very good. You should probably improve this and that, and the performance here will not be good in 1 year. Let's try to optimize this. So, yeah, I definitely can learn a lesson from there.
Yeah, There's all types though. Like some people are super polite. Some people are like blunt and brief. Yeah, it's all different. Like there's
but a lot of that comes
types
from the culture, right? There is a company culture, and people kind of try to fit in. So
The one thing that I would say is like a company-wide culture that stands out to me is everybody's very, very helpful. Like if I post in some channel about something, like people always respond and they're usually like very helpful. They'd be like, oh, well, here's how this works and boobity bobbity boo. And it's everybody's very helpful. That's what you need to have in a remote environment, because you can't just go over to somebody's desk and ask. All you can do is ask in Slack. So
yeah,
it needs to be that way.
Yeah, and in some sense, it's also a blessing that people don't come over your place and constantly ask you questions. For the more senior people out there,
I'm sure that would be annoying. Very annoying.
It's kind of like Google it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can figure it out.
Yeah,
go ahead.
So it's been 1.5 hours, and I think it's time really to wrap it up. It's been very interesting, and it's great catching up with you. So maybe the last parting words and where people can find you, and a little bit about your future plans, except for the 4-month parental break.
Yeah, people can find me on Twitter. Mitch, I think it's Mitch_Tabian. If you just search for Coding with Mitch, you'll find it.
Yeah, I'll put all the links here and on the screen and in the description of this video, so people will be able to find it.
Yeah.
So just list them.
And I do make Android courses, and you can find them on codingwithmitch.com. And I make YouTube videos where I have courses on there that are free. Some are free, some are paid on my website. Yeah, I have lots. Go check them out. Probably my quote unquote specialty, like what most of my courses are about architecture on Android. So if you're interested in that, which everybody is, so check them out.
Yeah, it's evergreen topic.
And yeah, it's an evergreen topic for sure. Yeah, I don't know. It's been fun. I always enjoy talking to you. I would like to have a beer one day, I think, or several beers one day. I don't know how practical that is, but if it could happen one day, I think that would be fun.
I would definitely be up to going full crazy on beer and whiskey and whatever with you.
Yeah.
Okay, Mitch, it's crazy interesting talking to you, and thank you for sharing your experience. I was really, really curious because I don't know if never, but I don't remember ever seeing anyone doing the transition that you did. And I'm just super happy for you to hear that you're so enjoy your work and your coworkers and everything. It just makes me consider the same possibility maybe.
You could try. I mean, it's not for everybody, but I've had a good experience. I think it's well suited for the family life, I think, personally.
Yeah, I think you can be just definitely a great advocate for just finding a good job with good people and good project that interests you, instead of going and doing the crazy thing of being a content creator or business owner in general.
Yeah, for sure.
So nice catching up with you, and hopefully we will do another one sooner than we did this one.
Yeah, for sure. Let's do it.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Bye.
See ya.